Trump blames Ukraine over war with Russia, saying it could have made a deal. President hits back at Ukraine's complaint that it has been left out of US-Russia talks, saying it had years to make a deal, without the loss of much land. I'm very disappointed. I hear that they're upset about not having a seat at the talks. Trump told reporters at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida when asked about the Ukrainian reaction. The US president said a half-baked negotiator could have secured a settlement years ago, without the loss of much land. Today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal, he said. President Donald Trump has criticized Volodymyr Zelensky, saying he was disappointed that the Ukrainian leader complained about being left out of talks between the US and Russia over ending the Ukraine war. Trump also seemed to blame Kyiv for Moscow's invasion, even as he said he was more confident of a deal to end the war after US-Russia talks, claiming Ukraine could have made a deal to avert war. Speaking in Florida on Tuesday night, Trump increased pressure on Zelensky to hold elections, echoing one of Moscow's key demands. The US president also suggested that he could meet Russian President Vladimir Putin before the end of the month as Washington overhauls its stance towards Russia in a shift that has alarmed European leaders. Zelensky had earlier on Tuesday criticized the US-Russia talks for excluding Kyiv, saying efforts to end the war must be fair and involve European countries, while postponing his own trip to Saudi Arabia, where the US-Russia talks took place. Talks are taking place between representatives of Russia and representatives of the United States of America. About Ukraine again, and without Ukraine, he said. The Ukrainian president's comments appeared to anger Trump, who proceeded to launch a series of attacks on Zelensky, who has led Kyiv's fight against Russia's February 2022 invasion. Asked whether the US would support Russia's demands to force Zelensky to hold new elections as part of any deal, Trump said, "They want a seat at the table, but you could say, wouldn't the people of Ukraine have a say? It's been a long time since we've had an election. That's not a Russian thing, that's something coming from me, from other countries. We have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating, and where a country has been blown to smithereens. Most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site." In an interview with German public broadcaster Arte aired on Tuesday, Zelensky defended his popularity, saying, "I'm president of Ukraine because 73% of people voted for me. And today I'm president because the majority in my country support me. I'm a patriot, just like the people defending our country. Of course Russia wants to get rid of me. Maybe not physically any longer, like they did at the beginning of the war, but politically. And that's absolutely understandable, as I'm a very uncomfortable person, uncomfortable for Putin." Zelensky was elected in 2019 for a 5-year term, but has remained in office as Ukraine is still under martial law. Sean Savette, who was spokesperson for the White House National Security Council under then-President Joe Biden, said in a social media post, "Sounds like Trump bought Putin's propaganda hook, line, and sinker." His comments came after Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said his country would not accept NATO peacekeeping forces in Ukraine under any peace deal. Trump stunned the world when he announced last week that he had spoken to Putin, and that the two leaders had agreed to start peace talks and to travel to meet each other in Moscow and Washington. The US president then said they would hold a first meeting, most likely also in Saudi Arabia. Although no date has been announced, when asked if he would meet Putin before the end of the month, Trump said, "Probably." Meanwhile, European officials urged the US not to side with Moscow. Kaja Kallas, the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, tweeted, "Together with European foreign ministers, I spoke to US Secretary of State Marco Rubio after his talks in Riyadh. Russia will try to divide us. Let's not walk into their traps. By working together with the US, we can achieve a just and lasting peace, on Ukraine's terms. With Agence France Presse, this is what we're up against: bad actors spreading disinformation online to fuel intolerance and undermine democracy. A media ecosystem dominated by a handful of billionaire owners. Teams of lawyers from the rich and powerful trying to stop us publishing stories they don't want you to see. Lobby groups with opaque funding who are determined to undermine facts about the climate emergency and other established science. Authoritarian states with no regard for the freedom of the press. Asterisk asterisk, but we have something powerful on our side. We've got you. This is why we're inviting you to access our brilliant, investigative journalism with exclusive digital extras to unlock. 1. Unlimited articles in our app. 2. Ad-free reading on all your devices. 3. Exclusive newsletter for supporters, sent every week from the Guardian newsroom. 4. Far fewer asks for support. 5. Full access to the Guardian Feast app. The Guardian is funded by readers like you in Pakistan, and the only person who decides what we publish is our editor.